welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate Trades Edition. It is so weird to stare at my producer on the side right now because I can see him, but he's laughing at me. I'm going to call him the voice of God. That's what he's going to get named. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. He's going to be like, no. So anyhow, you know, it's funny. I was going to come on here and we were going to do this big celebratory 50th episode. And I'm like, I'm sure it's not the 50th. And he's like, no, it's the 50th. I'm telling you. And I'm like, no, because he's been with me since I started this journey. And so I started looking into my files and started counting all of my episodes. And I'm like, listen, bud, we got 8 more to go before we hit 50. Let's not start taking wins before they happen. So I'm on here by myself today because, well, it's a me, myself, and I. And that's kind of how we're going to roll. So like I said before, the new guests that are going to be coming on are the authors of the book Good Grief. There might be sporadic throughout because we're still booking a lot of them. They're on conferences and they're doing book tours and they're doing a lot of great things. So I'm super excited to have these authors come on eventually. One is coming on, well, I'm booked one for Thursday, so you guys will hear her the following Wednesday. And her name is Irina. So I'm very excited for that podcast to roll out. I believe Kyle will be booking and Victoria will be booking and Maria will be booking and hopefully Allison. And then we have a whole bunch of them. So I'm excited for that. That's not all of the authors that are part of this book. Those are just a few of them. So that's exciting. Now, I was sitting, it's funny because I get into these conversations with my producer about podcasting and politics and life, and his perspective on how things are so I wish I could say that they mirror, but they don't. So we get into these debates and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I struggle with it because my significant and him mirror more. And I'm like, so now I got to fight 2 of you. This is garbage. I got to deal with one on camera and then I got to deal with one face to face. And they both got similar outlooks, except for one's in Ontario and one's here in Alberta. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I'm like, well, whatever. It is what it is. So he was mentioning something to me and I had paid attention somewhat in the news about it. How Olivia Chow was putting down CCANs for housing. And I found it really interesting because, him and I were having this conversation. He said, Lisa, he's like, there's all these buildings. He's like, that are vacant. And I'm like, yeah, agreed. They're vacant. So I don't understand why. I mean, the plumbing's already done. I'm like, what's it zoned? And he's like, well, it's commercial. And I said, so what? I'm like, rezone it for residential and let's go. We've got people, we can put a whole bunch of people in there. How much is a CCAN? And now you're just going to take up space. You got to deal with plumbing. You got to deal with electrical. You got to deal with all these issues, heating, insulating properly. You can't just throw people in a CCAN, so there's modifications that have to happen in order for it to be habitable. And then not only that, but then some people are going to want windows. Why wouldn't we just take an already placed building? And then he was like, wow, because it's zoned commercial and commercial can just sit on it. And instead of rezoning it to residential and filling it up and having the residentials pay taxes, which go back to the city, that would just make too much sense. And I'm just, and it kind of makes me laugh because when you think about government and politics and how a lot of their decisions sometimes just don't make sense for practicality purposes. I'll give you an example. So everyone knows that, Pierre Poilievre is my favorite. It's not, but anyway, he showed up to a meeting for press 25 minutes late to talk to the boys on the ground. So let me tell you how that looks to me, okay? So to the average common everyday person, it's like, oh, he's taking time to talk to the boys, boots on the ground. And that's awesome. He's trying to show his humane side. To me, I'm like, don't fuck up my production by going to talk to my guys. They're working. You show up to a meeting 20 minutes late and you're talking to my dudes. Are you nuts? You want all these great things to happen and you talk about how you understand. But here's the thing. Everything is on a schedule. Everything is on a timeline. And when you start pulling my people away to basically, for lack of a better term, flap their gums with you, that's cutting into my production time. Fuck off, kindly. So that's kind of my thought, because these guys need to get paid. They don't want to get, Pierre Poilievre was talking to me. I'm like, that's not a flex. Don't, anybody Like you could tell me, I would rather tell me that an elderly person or a veteran came to stop you and talk to you. I will accept that faster than I would accept a politician talking to you. I'd be like, you don't have time to waste. What are you doing? So that's kind of my thing. And then like their housing ideals and how they want to do things. Everything that government does, whether it is conservative or NDP or liberal, it affects everybody. And I think the big thing is that where I struggle is that I'm all about community and people. And yes, we all need to make money. And yes, we all want to have decent lives and this and that. But what I don't want is I don't want to make the rich richer, holding on to money and undermining the people that are breaking their backs, that are, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into these companies and are not being recognized accordingly. There are more companies with, I should say, large conglomerates that are paying more attention to their workers and making an effort to acknowledge them as people versus numbers. And that's a really great shift because, and I also find that it doesn't matter what your political position is at that point. It matters on what your moral position is on that and your ethics. And as an owner of a company, when you are hiring and recruiting people and you are taking pride in how you hire and recruit, because then your parting of ways will go down, because parting of ways sucks. But that was the other thing that myself and a few of my colleagues have spoken about, is parting of ways. And so you don't want that revolving door as an owner. So the more time you spend investing into your people, they're going to invest in you and in your company, and you're going to get that optimal productivity, which is what you want at the end of the day. So for me, I'm just like, the political landscape is ever changing, regardless of who's in, quote unquote power. We voted them in. I mean, some of them were slim pickings, some not. Sometimes I just think we shouldn't have government at all. I don't, like, let's just run around free range like chickens. I mean, why not? Fuck it, why not? I'm trying this new sparkling ice Starburst strawberry. I hear it's garbage, but it tastes delicious, so You can see my producer nodding his head. He looks like he's in deep thought. I just want you guys to know it's fucking hilarious. So anyway, so listen to this. This is a fun one. I put out a podcast telling you guys about the new intro outro, and it didn't launch. It was supposed to drop, and it didn't end up dropping. So I'm like, what the frig? So what did I miss like a week? Like what happened? I had it all scheduled, and it was all about how my new intro had changed, how everything's changing. And even my producer, so he also writes code. He's done a whole bunch of stuff with my website. I'm going to be one of the first people in trades that has like an AI search engine inside my site, which is super exciting, and it's a game changer. I am on board with the AI. So all about it. So this will be fun to go through everything. And then all of my documents, if you're looking to do safety, you're looking for some HR docs to help you, that's where you can start to just get yourself moving. But I will, on my page, there are some people that I believe are very proficient in safety that will come to you in Alberta, or they might travel, I don't know. And then also some in HR, and I will list their companies, so that you guys can actually, because I don't claim to be a specialist in HR. I'm someone who is proficient in HR. I had an amazing specialist come out and train me on a lot of items. The one thing she said she loved about me is that I was a malleable person, and I am. I will be malleable. If you're teaching me something, I'm like a sponge. I also have my diploma in human resource management, and I spent a lot of time perfecting my art of understanding people. And then I am a little bit of a legislation junkie, so it's not like it's hard to find the legislation online. So, I wouldn't sit here and say I'm an expert in HR, because as much as I love people, I don't particularly like the HR aspect of things. Some may say I'm a little bit of je ne sais quoi, HR nightmare. I don't know, So I like to joke and be silly on site, and that can render me in hot water, because I'm silly and I do things that I probably shouldn't be doing, like goofing around near the power tools and the aerial lifts, and they're like, yeah, it's probably not smart. And then I'm safety designated, so they're like, Lisa, what are you doing? And I'm like, listen, it's not moving, okay? Nobody's on it, the keys aren't in it, like, let's settle down. So, but It's always like the people that have all the designations tend to be sometimes the bad ones. And not all of us. Some of them that have their designations and their certifications are very like, this is the way it's got to be done and blah, 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 blah. I believe safety is gray. So anybody who is in trades, who is an owner of a company, and I had this conversation with my neighbor, and he got really, really bitchy with me because I was kind of being a bit of an asshole, if I'm being honest with you. Because I mean, like, if you're in trades, you get your asshole badge after so many years of being in trades. It's just how it rolls. So basically, what happened was we were out having fire pit, and before I was like, well, I was bugging my one neighbor because there was a guy on like a 20-foot ladder on his house, and I was like, that's not a good safety thing. If you were outside, I probably would have shaken my finger at you. And I'm like, and then my neighbor was like, well, Lisa, does it really fucking matter? It's a ladder, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, under safety, you can't be any more than like, depending on industry standard and what industry they would fall under would be the max between 8 and 10 feet. And I'm like, before tie off. And I said, and even then he's on residential and it's the owner's responsibility. And they're the prime contractor on site, which means that they would hold the bag for any liabilities. And so with their home insurance. So technically I'm like, if I wanted to, I could be, and this is where I lost him. And he just blew a fucking gasket is when I said, technically as a designated safety officer, I can turn around and I can shut your site down. Boom, spun his head, fucking exorcist, green puke everywhere. He's like, fuck you. And I'm just like, oh. And you know what? And here's where it makes sense to me that he lost his shit on my head. Was that every guy does not want someone, male or female, coming onto their site and being like, you can't do that. And I hold all the power. So it's the flex. They don't like the flex, because when I sat and talked to him about safety and said, I feel that safety can be very gray. I don't think all of it is very black and white. There are some things that I will have the guys avoid that may be looked at as a safety precaution, because in the end, it actually is more of a hazard than it is a control. So there are certain occasions where that can be the case. And he was like, oh, I agree with you. And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, some of the things that my significant does, like hang off the side of a building by his belt or some shit, like that's stupid. But, that's why I use the term focus, and I have it written on my cups. And for those of you that have heard me say focus a lot, he knows what it means. My other half knows what it means. I tell him focus often. He has a different term for it, but he thinks he's funny, but he's not funny. So focus is fuck off because you're stupid. That's what it is. So for those of you that hear me say focus, pay attention to how I'm saying it to you, because there's a good chance that's probably what I'm saying to you, which people are going to be like, every time I say focus now, they're going to be like, did she just tell me to fuck off? Did she call me stupid? Maybe. There's a really good chance I did. But it's a really nice way of saying it. Like saying fuck around and find out. I invite you to test your theory at the earliest available convenience to you. There's different ways of saying things, but acronyms are fun. Sometimes I am just telling you to focus on what you're doing. Like legit. But yeah, so anyway, without my rambling, because I'll be honest with you, today I was kind of like, when he had said that I had my 50th, I had all these things like written down. I was like, I'm going to thank all my listeners, which I can anyways. I think you guys are all great, and I appreciate you all listening to me go on my little tirades and talk about different things and have different people on. And I'm so grateful for all the guests that come on. And we've got more coming. And then, and I was going to talk about the podcast summit. So YYC Podcast Summit is coming up in September. So for those of you that are podcasters, looking into getting into podcasting, it's a couple $100 for a ticket, probably well worth it. I'm excited to go. I wanted to go as a speaker. I didn't make the cut for a speaker, but that's okay because I'm still going to attend. I'm probably going to have, I want to get one of the jackets, like from Kopi 613, one of those asshole jackets, you know what I mean? Because I've got a few shirts. Like right now I'm wearing one, it says Tabarnak. And then I've also got one that says Canada's not for sale. I've got one that says Canadian as fuck. I have another one that says there's a bear shit in the woods. Let me tell you how funny I thought that was. I was like, that's a Canadian phrase? Does a bear shit in the woods? Like, that is something I've heard my whole friggin' life. Whenever someone says, or the fill your boots, like nowadays, like the younger generations, like they don't know that. They're like, someone's like, does a bear shit in the woods? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, I don't understand. And I'm like, okay, well, answer the question. Does a bear shit in the woods? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay. That's what it means. So when someone says, do you want a beer? Does bear shit in the woods? That's a yes. That's what it means. So, or the fill your boots. Like, if you want to do it, right? You put you put something in your boot, you fill it up because you want it. That's what it is. So fill your boots, go do it. I want to go to the store, fill your boots, go to the store, don't care. So it's kind of a nice / asshole way of saying, do it. But then the the catch is, I don't care. Like, that's what the fill your boots means. Do it, I don't care. So there's lots of little, like lollygagging. I say that to my kids, or dilly-dallying. There's all those terms. Like, people are like, wow, you really are old. And I'm like, oh, fuck off. I'm not that old. I'm like, maybe, but then, like, after 40, if you look good after 40, I remember looking at the Golden Girls and thinking, like, now, like, being closer to their age or their age when they were, doing the show. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't look anything like that. What happened? Do we get good skincare? Maybe it's all the preservatives that are preserving us and killing us at the same time. Not, I'm going to go with a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So, but, health and wellness is a big thing for me as well, as you all know. I always think that you should listen to your body. If your body says it's tired, then you should hear that. Maybe instead of going home and doing a bunch of things, because everyone's like, oh, I got to go home and I got to do this and I got to do that. You know what, though? I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be there tomorrow. If you can pick up food for dinner and bring it home to your family, have a couple of slices of pizza or some Chinese or whatever you want to eat, and go to bed, you'll probably thank yourself. And and people need to cut their partners some slack. If someone's really tired, and it doesn't have to just be physical tired, it can just be mental fatigue. Like, you're just emotionally and mentally drained and you just need some sleep. Because I know that, like, with my kids, when they get really emotionally or mentally exhausted by something, even if it's just a disagreement that we've had or they've had between each other, they pass out, they go to sleep. And sometimes that's just what your body needs. It just needs to chill, just needs to reset. And so I always tell people, like, for me, because I work a lot of the times from home, sometimes I'm out on site, but a lot of times I'm at home in my office, and I'm like, if I'm tired, I just stop and go take a nap. Even if it's like a 45-minute nap, a 20-minute nap, a cat nap, whatever it is, I'll just zone. And I'm like, and it makes me feel better. And then I get up and then I go. And sometimes I can go until 10 o'clock, right? For doing all the things, tidying up the house and getting more documents out and reviewing things and going through all of my stuff. So sometimes it's just, you just need a break, and you should just give yourself that break, and your partner should just give you that break. Everybody's tired, but it comes down to compromise. You know what? Tonight, I'm going to grab pizza. We're going to do this, and then I'm going to go to bed. And then the next day, they're going to be like, you know what? I'm feeling great. How are you doing? You know what? I'm running on low. Cool. Tonight, you come home and just kick up, go have sleep. I'll deal with everything. Like, why can't it be like that? We talk about that in relationships. Like, when people are like, well, it has to be 50-50. And it's like, 50-50 to me means that you are willing to do any task at any time, no matter what your sex is. Now, I won't lie to you. I pull the whole blue job, pink job shit, and I do it all the time. Like, even with my other half, I'm like, oh, you know what that is? That's a blue job. And I 100% do that. And it's really my way of saying it requires power tools, and I don't want to use power tools because I'm not as proficient as you in power tools. So you should probably do it so I don't fuck it up and then you have to fix my fuck up. How about that? It's like, I'm helping you help me help myself, right? I'm stopping me from doing something stupid that is going to frustrate you. I'm fighting for our relationship. He's probably going to be like, wow, you just talked your circle ass into some bullshit. He always says that to me. He's like, she talks in circles just to get herself out. And she's really good at talking the circle of bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, I really am. But it's a skill. If you're good at bullshitting, you're good at bullshitting. But you have to have some knowledge. And every once in a while, I was telling my producer, I was like, sometimes I'll start talking about something and I'm like, oh my God, that's right, this. And then I'm like, I haven't done the research on it yet. And then I make my listeners sit there and be like, hang on, let me look it up. And I'm like typing on the computer like a moron trying to figure it out. And he's like, yeah, Lisa, that's you. You just go by the seat. You fly by the seat of your pants. You've always been like that. And I'm like, I know. So anyway, there's my little fun relationships and wellness and wellness for mind, body, and spirit. Important. Politics. You know, the political landscape is always going to be, in my opinion, somewhat of a threat to all of us that are not in, like, you know, the, I don't know, 7 to 8 figure bracket. It's always going to be some sort of threat. So we really have to rely on those people that are in those higher tax brackets to be the leaders we need them to be, right? We need them to be the most amazing leaders, not bosses, people that want to forge ahead. Remember that all of the people that they employ, all of the people that they service are what matter. And that at the end of the day, what they put out, they will get back 100 times. And there are some really amazing leaders out there, but I need more of them in those 8 to 9 figure brackets that are really wanting to do, that really want to see change inside of things. I don't, you know what I mean? Because some people are like, oh, well, you just hoard money. And it's like, they do, but you do know that there's a lot of them that will give their shirt off their back for someone, and that they're just genuinely nice people, and that they don't want to be looked at like a dollar bill sign. And they do give a lot of charity to their selected charities. Like, there are some really great people that are in these high tax brackets. I'm going to say high tax brackets. It's just nicer saying like million and billionaires. But there are some of them. Not all of them are bad people. So we shouldn't shit on all of them, but we need more of them to be those influencers in life. They don't have to be out, you know, showing their life. Like, to me, like, I'm an influencer of sorts, and I'm not, you know, like, I'm not going to take you on a day in the life of Lisa. Like, no thanks. Like, I think I'm fucking boring sometimes. So, like, why would I take you along? Like, let's go drive for an hour. Like, no, no. So, you know, like, there's something to be said about the people that really put into the being, like, they take the influencer, like, very seriously. But then there's influencers like Joe Rogan, who can just do it from the comfort of his studio. And he is very much an influencer. There's a lot of men that really love Joe Rogan, and they're like, Lisa, you should listen to Joe more often. And I'm like, here's the thing. Okay. It's not that I don't like him. I think that he is a great podcaster. I think he brings a lot of really interesting topics. There's just sometimes I don't mirror his opinion. And you know what? That's okay. Maybe one day I will have him on my podcast, and I will ask him about all of these things that I'm not a fan of, because my show is called Devil's Advocate, and we can get into it and have a debate, because there's a lot of things he says that I think are great. Wouldn't that be fun? Have Joe Rogan on. I think that some people would be like, would you be intimidated? And I'm like, no, he's a person. He's a person who has opinions. And even though he's very well recognized and done well for himself, it's not that I'm against everything he does. I think that he brings a lot of really great things to light. It just means that we don't mirror each other on similar topics. And I think that's what makes us rich as a society, that we don't mirror each other. So makes conversations interesting. It also creates a lot of conflict at times. So there's that too. But anywho, I hope you guys all have a lovely day, and tune in next Wednesday, because I will have new guests on, because as much as I love talking to you by myself, it's a day, right? Like, you're like, what am I going to do today? I don't know. I've got a lot of paperwork I got to do today. I'm not going to lie to you. So anyways, have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll catch you next Wednesday for our new episode. And as always, don't do anything crazy.